It's big, it's heavy, and it is expensive. This is a 35 1.2 by Nikon, the first 35 1.2 by any of the leading camera manufacturers. Nikon have thrown everything into this lens. Initially, when I thought about this lens, I really started saying that a 35 millimeters will have to be a relatively compact lens because you move around, you have got to move around with the 35 millimeters lens. You can't be static. This is not a monopod focal length, so 35 is special for intimate situations, intimate moments, and to capture those moments, 35 is what you reach out for. So I obviously wanted the 35 to be a little more compact, a little more travel friendly. Now, when I first actually talked about this lens, even after it's launched, I said that should I buy it? And I've had mentally a very difficult time because what I've seen this lens do, by the way, mind you, I have the 85 1.2, I have used the 50 1.2, I have the Sigma 50 1.2 Sony mount, I adapted to Nikon. I have used the 35 1.2 primarily with the Z8. And when I first used it, I thought there was something strange about this lens. So I started doing this, the kind of tests I do, but this time I hadn't actually started with the test. I started with shooting, came home and looked at the pictures, looked at the images, looked at the raw files. I thought the output is better than any other Nikon lens I've used. The only thing that gets close to it is actually the 105 macro, the 2.8. So you have a little bit of vignetting at 1.2. By the time you're at 1.6, the vignetting is mostly gone. But at f2, it's not there. Okay, that's a very, very good performance because for a large front element like this, even at f2, you're going to get very, very good bokeh. And it's got such a full back element. You can see this, right? It's got such a full back element, large back element, thanks to the Nikon Z mount. So even at f2 or f1.8, you're going to get bokeh quality that's actually not like f2. It's going to be creamer, smoother, all of that. So f2, if you get edge to edge sharpness and if you get tremendous, proper clean image without any vignetting, that's fascinating. It is very sharp right at the center and also at the corners at f1.2, but the kind of sharpness you get at 1.8 onwards is mind-blowing. Just pure image quality, all right? There, the 35 1.2, if you look at sharpness, center sharpness at 1.8, it is so sharp. By the way, it gets sharper. The sharpest that this lens gets is between actually 2.8 to f8. It's incredible. You can go in 400% and you can still see absolutely everything. At f2.8, at f4, this lens is pure perfection. I think this lens can handle a 65, 75 megapixel sensor. I feel so. When I look at the images, that's what I feel. And I don't know for sure, but that's what I feel. Okay, the funny thing is that even at f11, it actually doesn't, it shows a little bit of loss of resolution because of diffraction, but it is so marginal, you won't even see it. So for practical purposes, you don't see loss of quality even at f11. You see that only at f16, which is like realistic loss of sharpness. That's a lot of things going for this lens already, and there's so much more to talk about. But before I go forward, please subscribe to the channel. Help me reach 8,000 subscribers soon. Let's talk about colors. The colors are very good. The 35 1.8 actually has slightly deeper colors. By the way, you should know the 35 1.8S is actually a much wider lens than this 35 1.2S. So if this is the true 35mm focal length, the 35 1.8 must be about 32 or 31 even, and you can see the video. It's a much wider lens than 35 1.8. However, I like this. I like whatever focal length, actual field of view this 35 1.2 gives you. This is what I prefer. So when I was looking at the just the output of the colors, I realized that anything around red, okay, felt a little more deeper than other options that I've seen. For example, I have the Tamron 35 1.4. Like you see that the red channel is very deep. the green and the blue channel are subtle, which is very, very nice. So I really like the kind of color output that this lens gives you. It's really, really stunning. Let's talk about chromatic aberration. Okay, when you shoot straight at the point, on the point of focus, there is almost no fringing. Maybe there is when you move in by 300-400%, there is a little bit of fringing, but for all practical purposes, there is no fringing on the point of focus. There is, however, a longitudinal chromatic aberration, some fringing that you can see in the bokeh areas, in the background and the foreground bokeh. And you see that at f1.2, it reduces down to negligible amounts at f1.8. Beyond f2, it's not visible to you. I mean, unless you really crop in the image, it's not really visible to you. Yes, if things are backlit at f1.2, there may be situations when thin lines, a wire, someone's hair or something, a shiny metal object with a sharp sort of angle to it, may throw up a little bit of longitudinal chromatic aberration. And let me tell you, the biggest strength of this lens, I haven't come to it yet. I haven't told you what's the beauty, what's that magic X factor about this lens. We'll come to that. Before that, let's talk about autofocus. The autofocus is really, really good. I mean, first of all, there is no focus breathing. Just like the 35-1.8, the 50-1.8, the 50-1.2S lenses, the 35-1.2S has no focus breathing. The focus motor is silent. You can hear a little bit. It's practically silent. There's nothing to it. And the focus transition in this video is also very smooth. For photography, the focus is instant. It doesn't miss anything. Like I've seen videos, I think by Julia Trotti. I don't know if I'm getting her name right, but she said that, she was missing the shots when, the eyes at a 90-degree angle to the camera. Like if you're shooting from this side, she said that you're losing focus on her Z8. It didn't happen to me. I shot plenty of shots on the side. It didn't happen to me. Maybe I was not shooting at 90 degree to the subject. I didn't face that problem. The autofocus is fantastic. And holding on to a point of focus is due to the camera's job. The speed, accuracy, the reliability of autofocus of this 35-1.2 is fantastic. There's absolutely nothing to discuss there. The bokeh balls at the corners are not perfect like the plana. They're not perfect round shaped. But other than that, there is pure perfection in everything. There is no onion ringing. At the edges of the bokeh balls, you do not have fringing. You have that, by the way, on the 35-1.8S. You don't have that here on this 35-1.2. The bokeh balls are just beautiful. Only at f4, if you zoom in, you'll start seeing the angular structures within the bokeh balls because the blades are visible at that point. But other than that, between 1.2 to f3.2, 3.5, it's hardly visible. Let's talk about its superpower, alright? It is the kind of clarity you get. See, it's not just enough to give you a lot of sharpness. It's clarity. It's getting all the details in your sensor. This is like a pipe. This is like a wire or an electrical pipe through which the light data should travel onto the sensor. And this lens does the job perfectly because there seems to be nothing lost. Like if I try to really test it hard, so I asked my wife to actually shoot the flash against the light. And when I zoomed in onto the subject, it's a branch of this little plant, you see all the details. For reference, I'm going to show you an image taken with the 85-1.2 in the same situation. And you can see the difference. You can see there is more micro contrast. If you ever wanted to know what micro contrast is, see this difference. You can see variations in shade. What micro contrast does is adds to your sharpness, adds to the shape, micro little tiny shapes of someone's skin, of a surface. Those things are done when a lens can really capture micro contrast. And this lens can do that because it is absolutely stunning against light, which means this is going to be a fantastic astrophotography lens. The petal shape hood is interesting. I would like the hood to be longer because all these coatings are here and they're precious, right? And if you buy this lens, you should be ready to take care of it. Now, I had one complaint about this lens, that fact that it is a big and heavy lens. But right now I have a couple of other complaints. First of all, I'm not worried about the big and heavy bit anymore. To be honest, I really absolutely cannot believe I am saying this, but I'm saying this because I realize that for the output you get, what you're carrying is not difficult to carry because it balances so well with any Nikon camera, especially the Z8 and also the Z6 III and definitely the Z9, because the way Nikon has balanced the camera, the way they have sort of put the weight in the right places, it never feels front heavy despite being a sort of a long lens. Nikon has really put everything in terms of design. I'm pretty sure it must be very difficult to keep so many parameters in mind and then design a lens. Like, you've got to do everything, all of those things, make the first 35 1.2 by any of the leading camera manufacturers, and then ensure that it's optically perfect. At the same time, you have to also ensure that most of the weight placed in such a way that it feels comfortable on the hand. Must be a lot of work. The complaint that I have is that this lens is too expensive for most people. I wish Nikon made it and Nikon sort of wanted to sell it in huge numbers and made this lens about 500 to 800 US dollars cheaper, but it is not. This lens deserves to get the price tag that it has. In my view, this is the next chapter of Nikon's S-line lenses. This is not the same S-line lens as the other S-line lenses, and I'm extremely excited to see what comes out next if this is what Nikon can do. Times are going to be great. Subscribe to this channel and let me know what you think of this lens, what you think about this review. I'm going to see you soon with another one.